Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hey Nonprofits Raise More Money. This is such a great episode. Libby Heikind from Grant Watch, the founder of grantwatch.com and also the author of the new book, Queen of Grants, is joining us. What a joy. What a joyous conversation. Sharing time with Libby, talking about grant writing, do's, don'ts, the power of AI with grant writing, why you need to be able to, and we talk about this constantly, express your mission's message in 10 words or 10 seconds or less, why there's really no difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit. It's just a tax designation. You still have to raise money. And there's such a wonderful, wonderful opportunity out there, as a matter of fact, to raise money via grants for your organization. So enjoy this episode. Do us a favor. Share this with someone in your network. I know that if you have a network of other nonprofit professionals, that they're going to get a lot of value out of this episode and every episode of Hey Nonprofits for that matter. But share this one specifically. Show Libby some love on social if you don't mind. Once again, the founder of grantwatch.com and the author of The Queen of Grants, which she actually did not give herself that moniker. That was bestowed upon her by a fan. Enjoy this episode, everyone. I really did. And I hope you do too. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Yeah, Libby Heikind, thanks so much for coming. Yeah, awesome. And you just released this book. I love the title. It came out February 1st, The Queen of Grants. And you're also the CEO and founder of grantwatch.com. So thanks so much for coming. We really appreciate it. I know the audience will get a lot out of this as well about grant writing. And of course, because it's 2024, we got to talk about AI a little bit, So, so that's great. Where are you from, Libby?
Well, right now I'm in Florida.
Okay, cool.
But originally I go all the way back.
Yeah, you don't sound like you're from Florida. You don't sound like you're from Florida.
No. It's a little Brooklyn and Long Island.
Are you serious? Okay, fun. That's awesome. And what part of Florida are you in right now?
Boynton Beach.
Oh, cool. That's really nice. They play baseball there.
Yeah, I think in West Palm.
Yeah, okay, not very far. Yeah, spring training's going on right now. Yeah. Well, let's quit talking about sports. Let's talk about grant writing. What made you want to start grantwatch.com? Have you always been a grant writer? Kind of what got you into working with nonprofits and raising money this way?
Well, I was a teacher, a public school teacher, special ed classes. We needed to get the students prepared for some state exams. And I was teaching 7th through 9th grade, 10 children. There was no way I was going to teach written communication skills to these students without something else. There needed to be some motivating factor. And this goes back to the early 80s, 1980s. Wow. What could I do? So I started researching. I was a new young teacher. What was the solution? And it was word processing. So when I needed to do word processing, the computers in the school, they just weren't strong enough. They didn't have enough memory. We went from there to the special ed supervisor, and then he brought my idea to the district office. And I thought there was so much money coming into special ed at the time, but they said, no, we don't have money. Wow. But if Libby wants to write a grant, there is a grant available from Tandy, which was Radio Shack. And I went every day after school, and they taught me to write, and I won.
Wow.
And that was my first grant that I wrote. And it was just from there on, I became a grant writer for my school. Then I was a grant writer at the district office. And when I retired from teaching, I knew what was available. We started developing a website.
Wow. And that's grantwatch.com.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Awesome. What a cool origin story. And it's so funny how we, I wouldn't have been able to tell you 15 years ago that I was going to be working with nonprofits, helping them raise, let alone doing a podcast, which no one knew what these were 15 years ago, right? But
right. We didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know what the internet was years ago, right? It didn't exist.
True story. Well, I want to get into that because I know that's changed grant writing tremendously, but that's a great origin story. You were on the ground floor. My wife teaches in public school here in California, so we totally get it with funds and all that stuff. And honestly, what's available, it's a huge world out there. Just for what and giggles, that first grant that you got for the special education, what was the dollar amount?
$15,000.
That was a lot in the 80s. That was a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like $40 something thousand today.
Oh, that's the math I got. That's fantastic. That's really, really cool. So you knew you were
After
onto
that,
something. Yeah.
my next grant was a Commodore 64 matching grant.
Okay.
And so they gave
Tell
us
us what that is.
$9,000 worth of computers, and the school district had to give us the other 9,000. So that was
Wow.
great.
That's
So
awesome.
I was just outfitting a computer room.
I love it. That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. And so, you obviously did that in real time, your way. You were the person writing, and you took all of this knowledge and experience and started Grant Watch, and you're helping nonprofits outside of education. Are you strictly just working with educators and whatnot? Kind of give us a like how vast of a spectrum are you working with regard to nonprofits?
Very, very vast, because we
Cool.
have 60 grant categories, 60.
Wow.
Okay. And it goes all the way from aging and seniors down to, I think it's youth, at risk youth. In between, we have disaster relief, we have mental health, health and medical, workforce, women, small business, everything's in there. All on the right side of Grant Watch, we list all the 60 categories.
Okay, perfect. I was going to ask that. That's awesome. So it sounds like Grant Watch is a really cool resource for folks, obviously. So I know, of course, I understand what grant writing is. I understand the process. I've never done it myself. Is it a fundraising tool or pool of money that's underutilized because folks are not sharpening their pencil, so to speak, or using the tools that are available to them to raise these dollars, do you think?
Well, we have close to 8,000 grants right now on the website that are currently available. So
Wow.
there's two ways that people look for grants. One, start searching for foundations that give money, and then they'll write them a letter of inquiry and see if money's available.
Okay.
I don't believe in that. I
That's not
like
how it
to
should start.
apply,
That's not, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to apply for currently available grants, right? Where you know that they're giving out the money, and sometimes there is a deadline, and sometimes it's a rolling deadline. Okay, so I like that, and that's what Grant Watch is about. We added the other feature where you can look at the 990 reports and look at the foundations, and you can do that. We just added it, I think maybe a year ago, and we keep uploading and upgrading that. But the currently available grants, it's highly competitive, but they're out there, and if you don't apply, nobody
Yeah.
gets it, right?
Yeah. My intuition tells me that, there's trepidation about just starting the process. And now, of course, because we want things so quickly now, it's not $15,000 that you got in 1980, what have you. It's now, obviously 2024. And folks, I don't know if it's fear, insecurity, trepidation, whatever adjective you want to do to describe it, but folks are probably they're probably shying away because it is so competitive, or they're afraid to hear the word no, or does it kind of get more into like psychology and what have you when it comes to folks not doing things like this? Because it sounds like if you were a nonprofit or you had this, these missions in mind and you wanted to raise money quickly or effectively, you would go down this path.
Right, but the nonprofit needs to have a staff member that's going to go ahead and search for the grant and start the application. So that's the first thing. Do you have the resource? Well,
Right.
now with AI, it's a lot easier, but somebody has to do it. Somebody has to take responsibility.
Why is
And
it
if the
easier now with
nonprofit,
AI, if you don't mind me
yes,
asking? Yeah, why is it easier now with AI?
because you don't have a blank page. If you have a grant application in front of you, you can prompt chat, which is what I call it. There's many of them out there now. You could prompt it with the question, and you can give it some facts and see what it comes up with. It may not be what you want, but at least you don't have a blank page.
It's
So
where to
that's the
start.
first
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a start. If there's a question that you don't understand, you can ask it. You have somebody there. Chat, this is this give and take, back and forth situation with chat. But before you start to write grants, you have to understand all the parts of a grant. That's why I wrote the book,
Yeah.
where I go through that. And we'll go, I'm sure we'll go into it later, but I just want to say that people that just start with AI that have never written a grant, what they're going to submit is going to be a mess.
Yeah.
They really need to know what a grant is about.
Well, let's get into that. Actually, yeah, no, let's not wait. Let's just give the audience what they need to hear. Tell me why that is the case. I mean, because my mind tells me that we're losing the human, element. Of course, AI is a great tool. It's not going anywhere. Let's all just accept that. Folks are probably a little over indexed on hearing the term AI so much and how it's going to affect their lives, and and whatnot. That's a, whatever your opinion is about AI, but it's a useful tool. It sounds like the way you're telling it, but you need the human element to write an effective grant. Because you say if you just rely on AI or chat or what have you, it's going to be a mess. So yeah, tell me why and the mechanics and what have you.
So let's say you're a nonprofit organization and you provide services. So that's human services, right? AI is not going to provide those services. So if AI would create your grant proposal, you're going to be signing off that you're going to do X, Y, and Z. You never had any intention to do X, Y, and Z. That doesn't meet the needs of your population. So first, you need to say, these are the needs of our organization.
Yep.
These are our goals, and these are our objectives. Now you look at grants and you say, first, of course, are we eligible? And if you are eligible, is what they want you to do in the grant application something you want to do? Right?
Yeah.
Now, if it is, now start planning your program. AI doesn't know that you have 50 preschool children that you want to provide childcare for. They don't know that. It doesn't know anything about you. It doesn't know the income levels of the people, right? It doesn't know that you want to add a parenting component. It doesn't know how you want to evaluate it. I mean, AI can come up with this super complex evaluation mechanism, but you want to evaluate it based on observation, parent surveys, children's drawings, something like that, right? So you have to first design your program and your budget. And maybe AI can help you with some calculations, but they can't really tell you how much you should be paying a teacher in Nebraska.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah.
Right. So you have to have all these things at your fingertips. And that's why I wrote the book. So I'm just going to pick it up for a minute and just show it. And it's
I love it. Yeah.
above my head
The
as well.
Queen of Grants. Yeah. And I told you this. I love the title. I think it's great.
I got the title on a podcast. I want you to know. Somebody introduced me as that, and it stuck.
Well, that's Well, that's fantastic that it wasn't. That you didn't just come up with that that moniker yourself. Right. Someone bestowed it upon you, and obviously it's flattering when folks do that. But
right, apropos, and then podcast after podcast, they kept calling me that. So okay, that's what we'll name the book.
Oh, you got to rock with it. I'm thinking there's some movie rights in the future then too. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. And what's interesting, and you said it so eloquently, and we have the opportunity to work with and speak to nonprofits daily. My partner, Jason, and our entire team at HGA, we're always reminding folks to, whether it's a fundraising event or you're writing a grant or you're meeting with someone who could be potentially a large donor and you're making an ask eventually or things along those lines. It's like always come back to the mission, which obviously AI can't do that as readily as a human being can that works for the mission, right? Or works for the organization. Always come back to the mission, be able to explain what your mission does in 10 words or less, for instance, right away, of course. And then what we've done, what we're doing, and what we plan on doing. And like you said, AI is a great tool, but it can't do that, what a human being can do in that fashion and relay that information, right? So I think it's awesome.
If you ask a nonprofit, what does your nonprofit do? They should be able to answer it in a sentence. So like, if you ask me, what does Grant Watch do? And we're not a nonprofit, we're for profit. Yeah. I would say Grant Watch is the website that lets nonprofits, businesses, and individuals know what grants are available. That's it. Now you know who I am. So somebody has to be able to say that. And the way to do that is to practice, just constantly ask, let somebody ask you and come out with it till it is second nature.
I love that. And spreads itself across the entire organization, and everyone says the same thing, right? When they're asked that question. Yeah. No, I love that. In sales, we used to call that an elevator pitch.
Right? I talk about that in the book. It is an elevator pitch.
Yeah, and every nonprofit should have it. And you just said it's very interesting. You said we're for-profit. We're a for-profit company as well, even though we work with nonprofits exclusively. But what we always cringe, and they're all lovely people, of course, but that do this or start with this. Oh, well, we're a 501c3 and we do this. And it's like, no, do not lead with. Everyone always leads with that. I say everyone, but of course I'm broad stroking, but so many organizations, we're a hey, well, we know. And then back to the elevator pitch point, you might be a nonprofit. That's just a tax designation. You still have to raise money.
Right.
You still have to make payroll. You still have a budget. You need to operate, and we wish more nonprofits would operate like a business, or at least take that kind of approach.
The only difference between, well, there are probably a few more differences, but the main difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit is that nonprofit takes out its revenue in salaries.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And expenses to provide the services, whereas a for-profit can take out their profit. That's the only difference.
You're absolutely correct. It's a tax designation. That's all it is. We need to continue. You and I will do it. We'll continue shining that from the rooftops until every nonprofit really adopts it, right? I think that's a great approach. That's why I think so many, we've had the good fortune of speaking to so many lovely individuals, yourself included, about their journey in helping nonprofits. But I've noticed a lot of folks that come from the for-profit side of things. There was a big injection of new talent, especially post-COVID, but just where the landscape with nonprofit fundraising is right now and growth and what have you. It's such obviously a huge, I don't want to use the term industry, but I'll go ahead and say industry. But I've noticed a lot of folks from the for-profit side coming in and absolutely crushing it because of their experience, you know what I mean, and running a company, right? And once they take that experience and that viewpoint and take it in the nonprofit, then the sky's the limit, right?
Right. That's the way to go. Have the
Yeah,
business mind.
I think so, 100%. Did you always? You obviously didn't always know that you're going to start your own company, correct? Or was this always kind of something like, I don't know what it'll be. I'm an entrepreneur. My family comes from a business background. Have you always been an entrepreneur? I'm using that term. If you don't like the label, we can edit it out. But yeah,
I think so, because there was a time while I was teaching and the doctor said I had to get off my feet. It was during a pregnancy that wasn't going so well.
Okay.
And so he said, off your feet, no teaching for the next 4 months. And so what happened was I had made myself this beautiful centerpiece for the table. I was working on silk flowers while I was sitting there with my feet up.
Right.
And my friend came in and said, "That's beautiful. Can you make one for me?" So I ended up with a flower making business during my pregnancy and for a few months afterwards.
Wow.
Just because I can think money, figure it out, know what the price point is and everything else. So that was my first little business. GrantWatch was not the first company. The company before that, and I still have it, PGWHC, which that was the grant writing company. Okay. And we moved that with GrantWatch. We then opened up grant writer team. And that has grant writers. So nonprofits and businesses can hire grant writers there. It's evolved over time.
Okay.
But grant writer team is another business. So we have two running at the same time.
And that's grantwriterteam.com if folks want to find it?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And they put up a classified ad for a grant writer.
Okay.
Very minimal price. And then the grant writers can call them. Wow. And only grant writers that are on the website can call them. And then they work out their payment terms offsite. They communicate offsite. We don't take anything after that. We're just a matchmaking service.
Wow.
We don't
How long has this been going
writers.
On for? Yeah.
That's since 2013.
Good for you. That's really, that's a unique service. And obviously, though, it's one that's needed, right?
Right. And GrantWatch is since 2010.
I've been blessed with interaction with people, of course, but I get an opportunity to speak to a lot of folks that have started their own company, ran their own business, had these ideas and brought them to market. And it's just such a noble cause. And I just love it. I just love the idea of bringing an idea like this to fruition. And then, of course, all the different, new ideas that come out of it and providing the service, like the grant writers and all that stuff. Now, are they grant writers that you've, essentially procured and found yourself and your team has found, or are there just thousands of them and whatnot that you can connect with?
Well, the grant writers have to complete a form in order to be on the website. We don't vet them. We ask them for references so that way a grant seeker can check the references.
Okay. Awesome.
It has to be like this buyer beware. We have a lot of disclaimers on the site because a grant writer could be doing great work and all of a sudden something's going on in their life and things change. I don't want to be responsible for another human being's product. Yes, I only want to be responsible for what I produce. So we give enough information and we hope that they work well together.
Totally. Well, you just said it yourself, they're human beings. So we're a wily bunch, aren't we? I guess AI is a little wild.
You know what? We have creative ideas.
I sure you do. Yeah.
the AI is not creating anything new. It's just taking from something.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
see it right now. It's
Yeah.
taking what's out there. And when we write a grant, well, I'm not writing grants anymore, so nobody call me up. I'm not writing grants. I can't.
Well, I don't know. There could be
Managing
a
businesses
number
right
we
now.
could bring you out of retirement with a certain number. I don't know. You are in business.
No. I'm done. I'm done. I'll write another book. But what I'm saying is, when an individual writes a grant because they have a program, they have a passion for that program that they want to put together, and they use AI to use it as a writing assistant, that's okay.
Yes.
But their passion has to jump off the page. And that's why there are hearts all over my book. If you look at it, there's a bunch of hearts.
Yeah.
And that's to tell you, we need your heart in your grant writing.
Now, and I love you labeling AI as a tool, because it's exactly what it is. And we shouldn't put all of our eggs in one basket with any endeavor, of course, especially with grant writing, because there's such a human touch and element and mission. And these organizations touch so many lives a lot of times. And a lot of people's lives have been touched by these organizations, and so on and so forth. Was it seeing so much change in your space that was the impetus for writing the book? Or is this a book that you were writing for the last, 20 years? And then, it was all just a compilation of all your success and thoughts and what have you and all that stuff.
So I think I wrote the book over a period of 18 months or 2 years.
Okay, cool.
And it was to leave a legacy and let everything that I know to be able to impart it to the future generation of grant writers.
That's awesome.
People call us and it's like, when are you teaching grant writing? And I just decided that it's better to put it in a book.
Yeah.
And we have a chapter which has all your questions answered over time that we've heard. I divide it into 5 sections. It tells you my story, my journey. It answers all your questions. And then it teaches you my passion maps and folders, which is the new PMF, my mnemonic. That's how I started doing podcasts. I had to remember things and I couldn't read anything on a podcast. So I created a mnemonic.
Wow. I love it.
And after that, I could go on without any notes. So it teaches you that. It tells you everything that should be in a folder in order. And that's the whole thing. You need to know your demographics of your target audience, who you want to serve. And if you think about it, AI is a little bit behind. So if you want to have your needs assessment written for you, you can upload your demographics, right? But don't let AI give you your demographics. And if they do, ask for the source, because if they don't have it, they make it up.
Yeah.
That's what we found.
No, totally. Yeah, they'll fill in the gaps with something that could be possibly irrelevant.
Right. And then I model grant writing. So I have a section that models grant writing.
Just step by
step. And the last section is about AI.
A word to the wise, everyone. The queen of grants says, don't ever let your grant writing go on autopilot. Right. Sounds like to me, right?
You know what else happens? Imagine if you were in high school and you asked your best buddy to write your term paper, and now you submitted it. You never read it. You submitted it. That's what's happening with AI. There's actually a case. I remember hearing that somebody, a theology student, but he was a theology student that dealt with the First Testament. He used AI to write his thesis. It included the New Testament, and it was submitted. He never read it. Oh, and that's what's happening today. You're in a rush. Oh, AI knows what they're doing. I'm just going to submit it, right?
Right.
Forget it.
Yeah. So word of the wise, don't be a phony. No joke.
Right. That's exactly.
I like to make jokes.
Don't be a phony. Yeah. I did some research last night in preparation, and I found that there's now something called Chat PDF.
Okay.
And you can upload a document, a PDF, and then you can ask it questions. So you don't even have to read anymore.
That's too bad, because reading's such a joy. Yeah.
I know.
I'm a voracious reader. How about you?
Every weekend there's a book.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I find the point now where the thing that I give away the most are books. And I was just traveling. We met a couple other couples. My wife and I, we went to Costa Rica recently, and I brought books with me to give to the folks that we were meeting with, because I was like, oh man, this book brought me a lot of joy, and I wanted you to have a copy. And I even one fella, I took notes and I put it in the book as I read it because I knew I was going to give it to him. I don't usually give used books away, by the way, but but I just knew it'd be extra impactful for him when he takes the time to read it. So I just think it's such a joy. What this also tells me, Libby, as well, though, and I'm a big believer in this. I guess I think it's all very cyclical. I don't want to say history repeats itself, but it's almost kind of like fashion. It's almost kind of like a lost art, the lost art of handwritten notes, or the lost art of actually reading a paper copy book as opposed to reading digitally. All these things will come back more than likely, is what I think, right? And I just think sometimes we just get over-indexed into speed and pace with AI, and writing your term paper without writing your term paper and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that the rotary dial phone is coming back, but I am saying that there is a lost art, with so many different human elements. And I think what folks probably miss is the time and effort that it takes to accomplish these things, right?
If you think about it, in the 1980s, we started with word processing.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Right? Now, 2024, 2023, we're working with AI.
Yeah, wow.
But word processing was a tool. It didn't take away your creativity.
100%.
And everybody has to understand that use AI to help you be more creative. Don't make AI be the creator.
Totally. I think that's such a great point. Where's the easiest place that folks can find the Queen of Grants? On Amazon or what have you?
It's on Amazon and also grantwatch.com/book.
Awesome.
So that's easy. grantwatch.com/book. And also, of course, go to grantwatch.com and look at all the grants that we have. It's a subscription-based website.
Okay.
And you're only paying for the amount of time that you stay on it, not how many grant, and we just add new grants every day.
That's fantastic. Well, I know the audience is going to be really, really grateful. We're really grateful that a resource like that even exists. I think that's awesome. So hats off to you. I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. Congratulations on the book. Congratulations on everything that you accomplished with Grant Watch. And I'm going to get a copy myself, and I'm looking forward to the next book.
I want to say congratulations on your podcast. I watched a few of them yesterday. They're wonderful. So
really?
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh, geez. Well, that means a lot. Thank you so much. and we'd love to have you on again, as a matter of fact, because I think this is a fascinating topic that we need to continue just to unpack, and folks need to realize. And we're big believers in repetition and just reminding folks, is what I mean, over and over and over again. Hey, this is what works. This is how you have to explain your mission's impact. And I also get a really, really sincere feeling from that. You mentioned legacy with your book, and we constantly say the podcast is a derivative of wanting to give our best information away for free, just being information vessels to nonprofits and being resources and coaches and encouragers for nonprofits. And I definitely see that with what you've created with your team as well. So I'm thankful for it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you love our podcast, click the download button, rate us, and follow us on social media at HTA Fundraising. Get out there, start fundraising, and raise more money. See you next time.